My name's Will DeFries, and this is the Sunday Scaries podcast, your cure for the Sunday blues. There are a lot of trademark adult moments we experience as we trudge through our 20s and 30s, moving into our own apartment, paying off student loans, or even getting a dog. But above all, there's one simple act that propels you directly into adulthood, and that is buying houseplants. Unfortunately, if you're anything like me, buying houseplants is much different than keeping houseplants alive. If killing fiddle-leaf figs was punishable by law, I'd be behind bars. Luckily, today's guest is on a quest to solve all of our houseplant problems. Her name is Kate Ferguson, and she's the co-founder of Flourish, a company aiming to keep our houseplants more alive than they currently are. Ladies and gentlemen, Kate Ferguson. Kate, how are we doing today?
I'm great. How are you, Will?
I'm doing good. This is a long time coming on this podcast. As somebody who has admittedly killed a lot of houseplants in my time and received a lot of questions about houseplants through the Sunday Scaries podcast, it is high time that we have somebody on that can actually straighten everybody out. And I think you're just that person for us.
Well, I really appreciate that. I hope I am too.
The first question I have for you, and this is a very generic question, but why do you love plants?
I think I love plants because they make your space look beautiful. I live in a small house here in Austin, but I was previously in New York. And I think living the outdoors inside is just like a way to kind of up your home game and keep the spaces that you're living in really beautiful and flourishing.
I mean, that's why I want them. I'm glad you didn't have some answer about I'm not glad you didn't have some answer about like raising a plant or like something like that. But at the end of the day, like the reason I want houseplants is purely for aesthetic reasons.
I mean, I think aesthetics drives a lot of it. It drove a lot of why we created the brand. And I think that to me, like being able to look out and see these beautiful plants is really cool.
Do you have a favorite houseplant?
So I do. I have an African mask plant, which is in the alocasia family.
Okay.
It's a super cool looking plant. I really like plants that have sort of like the more arrowhead look to them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm very proud of this plant. I'm really aspiring for it to get really big. So I invest a lot of time in this African mask plant.
Is it difficult to keep these alive? Like, do you like it because it's a plant that's like kind of a difficult thing, or do you just like how it looks?
I like how it looks, but it is also a challenge. And it's the first alocasia that I've really been able to keep alive because I am not a expert when it comes to keeping every plant alive.
Mm-hmm.
I too have killed a fiddle-leaf fig. So I think it's a fun plant to just, practice on, I guess. And it sits in a moderately sunny spot in my house. And it's the first thing that guests see when they walk in.
We met up yesterday. We had a drink together. We talked through the podcast today. You had a very tasty looking mezcal drink in front of you. And you talked to me about the difference between like houseplants and herbs. These things are totally separated in your mind, correct?
Correct.
Why can these not be handled in the same way?
Okay, so if you think about houseplants, they are ornamental. So they're meant to be something that you look at, that you care for in a certain way. Whereas herbs sort of straddle the line of agriculture or home gardening. So the way that you care for an herb and the soil that you place it in, the conditions that it needs, and like the goals of the plant itself are totally different.
Mm-hmm.
I totally encourage people to have herbs at their home, in their home, but I'm more of a houseplant girl.
Okay, that makes sense. I've always wanted to have like an herb garden of some sort. I feel like it would be quite easy to tend to. And I feel like you don't have to go to the grocery store and pay $2 for a bundle of like dill or something. That's my least favorite thing in the world to pay for at the grocery store. Cause I'm like, this is just a plant over here. It's so stupid. If you had to guess, like, how many plants do you have in your house?
I have probably about 15.
Okay. That's a good number.
Yeah. So as the company has grown and as we've been doing, different things with it, I've acquired more and more plants for different reasons, mainly for aesthetic purposes, but also, to challenge myself,
Mm-hmm.
to try new things. So yeah, I'm up to about 15 right now. And it's a good number. It's a comfortable number for me.
Okay. I mean, I feel like cat ladies have like negative connotations to them, whereas like plant people are much cooler in my eyes, and you're just a plant person.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, we say plant lady is the new cat lady.
I think that's probably a good transition for a lot of people to make.
Yeah.
You just mentioned your company, Flourish. Can you tell me about the product, what the product actually does, how you got started with this, like your inspiration behind the company? Anything you have about the company, I'm interested in.
Yeah, for sure. So Flourish was a dream of mine for a long time, something that my co-founder and I started working on almost full time 2 years ago. And what Flourish is it's an organic, all-purpose houseplant food fertilizer concentrate.
Mhm.
So it comes in this cool little dropper bottle. We sell it in a kit with this great little dilution vessel, and 2 to 6 full droppers into that dilution vessel. Add in 8 ounces of water, and you're ready to go. It's an organic fertilizer, and so there's some really cool benefits to that, meaning you can use it on almost every houseplant and you can use it more frequently. So it's kind of a really good way to get into fertilizing and to start to try and up your houseplant game. Um, we designed the product wanting to think about something that could sit in your home. So, your houseplants are aesthetic. They're something you're proud of.
Mhm.
And we want this to be able to sit out on the shelf right near them.
Yeah.
And it's a good visual reminder that it's, time to feed them.
How often do you actually have to use it?
So we recommend using it almost as often as you water. If your plant is in a growth period, meaning it's shooting off new leaves, its stems are looking more robust, that's really, it's thriving. So it's a good time to use Flourish. In the winter, especially in very seasonal climates, your plants may go dormant and you can pull back on the fertilizer then, but it's pretty much a year-round product.
You guys recently launched. How long ago was it that you launched?
Yeah, so we launched last Wednesday.
Oh, okay. That's much more recent than I even anticipated.
Yeah.
You reached out to me a long time ago, and I was like, yes, we need a houseplant person on this podcast as soon as possible. You guys had a launch party and everything, right? Like, do plant launch parties go crazy?
Yeah, so we did do a soft launch in Austin back in December.
Mhm.
So it's a little misleading that we launched last week. But yeah, we did a plant launch party at Kinda Tropical. If you live here in Austin, it's decked out in plants. So it was a really fitting venue. And yeah, it was pretty wild.
Is that a vegetarian restaurant?
No, it's not.
Why did I think it was? I'm thinking of something else on
You
the
are.
east side. Yeah.
But yeah, it's a great spot. And we had people doing plant swaps. We had a photographer taking plant portraits. So people really, they really showed up. They brought their plants.
I want an invite to the next plant party.
All right.
Before we get into a bunch of listener questions that we received, I want to talk briefly about our friends over at FrameBridge. It's an amazing new service called FrameBridge, and FrameBridge makes it easier and more affordable than ever to frame your favorite things without ever leaving the house. Add a gallery wall to your home office or send the perfect gift. From art prints and diplomas to the photos sitting on your phone, you can FrameBridge just about anything. Have you ever used FrameBridge before?
I have.
I've used it several times, even before they were a partner on this podcast. All you have to do is go to framebridge.com and upload your photo, or they'll even send you packaging to safely mail in your physical pieces. You can preview your item online in dozens of frames and styles and gallery wall layouts, and you can even choose your favorite or get free recommendations from their talented designers. I recently did this, and I'm very much looking forward to see what they send back to me, because I have no idea what they're framing this print that I got for our anniversary.
Nice.
I can't wait to see what they actually did with it. But instead of the hundreds that you'd pay at a framing store, their prices start at $39 and all shipping is free. Plus, our listeners get 15% off of their first order at framebridge.com when they use code Scaries. You can order online at framebridge.com, or you can stop by a FrameBridge store to work with a designer in person if you're in New York, DC, Atlanta, Philly, Boston, or Chicago. To get started today, frame your photos or send someone the perfect gift. Just go to framebridge.com and use promo code Scaries to save an additional 15% off of your order. Again, just go to framebridge.com, promo code Scaries. Framebridge.com, promo code Scaries. Are you ready for a bunch of listener questions?
I am. I hope.
One of the most popular ones we got was, what are the best low maintenance plants?
Okay, I'm going to go with the one that I think that everyone should own, and it's a great plant. It's a beautiful plant. It's the snake plant.
Okay.
This is a plant that will do very well in low light. It'll do well in moderate light. It'll do well in bright indirect light. But it's a pretty low maintenance plant. It's pretty drought resistant. So if you forget a few waterings, it's not gonna leave you. So I recommend this plant to pretty much every beginner.
So if you have like a house sitter who forgets to water the plants, you can bet that your snake plant will probably make it through that week of vacation.
Yes, you can.
That's not me throwing shade at anybody. That is
Right.
just me asking a generic question to you, obviously. Are there any other plants that come to mind when you think of low maintenance stuff?
Yeah, definitely. I think that a money tree is a great plant.
Okay.
It's a really fun plant. You can get a braided stem. if you'd like. And also, if you use Flourish on a money tree, it'll throw off a ton of new growth. So they do very well when they're fertilized. In addition to that, I think if you want to start to, try a little more of a challenge out, a pothos is a great plant.
Okay.
Will grow pretty rapidly, so you'll get a lot of satisfaction out of it. Snake plant is a slow grower.
Do you have to trim the pothos plant?
You either need to trim it or you need to repot it as it gets bigger.
Okay. The reason the reason I asked this is because I'm currently looking at the Flourish plant guide on your website, which has been a very helpful resource for me because you can sort things by like light level, difficulty, size, and pet safe. That's another question that we didn't really get much on. It was mostly cat owners asking this question of what plants would go well with like a cat.
Yeah.
I worry about my dog kind of, she likes to eat grass sometimes. She'll pretty much eat anything. I get worried about having a plant around that's like not plant safe. How much do you actually have to worry about pet safe plants?
So a lot of tropical plants are toxic to pets and humans, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So if you do have, a young baby at home that might get into them, or a dog, I would say to steer away from anything in like the philodendron family or the alocasia family. So some of those like more advanced plants are actually the ones that tend to be poisonous, and they are generally come from the tropics, but you will do really well with something like a palm, or most ferns are non-toxic. So those types of plants are great and safe in your home and safe for your animals.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, that's always something I was like, how much do I like really need to worry about this? If my dog eats like a leaf from this, am I going to have to like go straight to the vet? But
I'm not going to speak for the ASPCA,
That's
which has a
probably
really,
good.
really good guide on pet safe plants. So I recommend checking them out. Or our website is cross-referenced with theirs. So you can check us out as well. But I don't think you'll have to go right to the vet in most instances.
Maybe just see it out for a little bit. A lot of listeners, as it turns out, have north-facing apartments. This has caused a problem as they don't get much natural light. What are the best plants for apartments that don't get natural light, and these north-facing people who are really in the trenches right now, just trying to get through it with their houseplants?
Yeah, I'm going to teach you a little hack that I think is helpful when you're thinking about low light plants.
Okay.
So the darker the leaves, generally it will do better in less light.
Okay.
So something like a ZZ plant is going to do great in lower light. Even a rubber tree, Ficus elastica, will do well in lower light.
How do you remember all the like genus and species names versus like the traditional names?
Well, I have this company called Flourish.
No, but like, did that take a long time to do? I mean, that's got to be like, I can't even read these words off of the page, and you're just like spitting them out like it's like it's just so secondhand to you. I'm jealous.
Well, you got to study your craft. So
I guess you were, as you told me yesterday, you were in a lot of science fairs.
I was,
so
yeah.
I guess this makes sense that you're the science.
I kind of feel
brand.
like I'm presenting in my science fair a little bit right now.
I mean, you kind of are. Are there any other tips for people that don't get a ton of light into their apartment?
I think spider plants will also do relatively well in low light. The other thing just to consider is that if you do have low light, your plants are not going to need as much water because there's less light for them to grow, really. So they're not going to grow as quickly, and so they're going to need less in order to be happy, basically. So just consider like all the other care elements when you're in a low light environment of just sort of pulling back on those things, because the plant is going to grow slower. It's going to need a little bit less because it's not producing quite as much energy because it has less light.
I feel like a slow growing plant ends up making me like more anxious about like figuring it out, and I start just overdoing things. What are some common mistakes that new plant owners make, much like mine?
Yeah, so I think that we went in like a new direction. Like from all the things that I'm seeing, everyone's like, "Oh, you've overwatered."
Mm-hmm.
But you might not have overwatered. So we really preach at Flourish like this thing called intuitive plant care.
That scares me so much because my intuitions have all been wrong up to this point of owning plants.
Okay, well, let me tell you a few things that can help guide your intuition.
Okay.
First of all, you should feel the soil. So if the soil is wet, then your plant hasn't used up all the water in it. So it still has water in the soil for it to utilize, and it doesn't need to be rewatered. Take a look at the bottom of your pot. You should always have a drainage hole like it's really the way to go. Your
Okay.
plant's really not going to thrive if you don't. If there's standing water below your pot, that's probably like you've overwatered. That's
Okay.
a good way to say like, okay, I really have overwatered. But if you're watering a plant and it's already saturated with water, then yeah, you're overwatering.
When you check the soil, what's the best way to do that? Can you just like
With your
touch
finger.
but do you just touch the top and like go through it, or do you like actually like stick a pinky in and like see what it's like?
Yeah, I would recommend like a pointer finger. You
Okay.
probably get a little farther down.
Yeah.
Another hack if you really don't want to stick your fingers in your plants is you can use a chopstick,
Okay.
just like baking. Like it comes out clean, soil's dry, it comes out with dirt on it. There's still some wet soil down
Okay.
there. So it's like this toothpick test, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like with a carrot cake of sorts.
Exactly.
Do you Oh, I had another question related to this and now I'm blanking on it. This is going to bum me out. Whatever. Must not have been that
Okay,
important.
so but jumping into like other common early mistakes, I would say, is like sticking to a schedule is going to be great for some plants that can really adapt to a watering schedule, and then you can be a little less intuitive if you're really into having a schedule for your plants. But I would say the other thing is just looking at the plants for signs of like what it needs. So your plant will show you, like if the leaves are drooping and it feels like it's wilting, it needs water.
Yeah.
If it's starting to the yellowing on the leaves often speaks to a nutrient deficiency, which can mean it needs a little bit more fertilizer, or it maybe needs a little bit more light.
Okay.
So those are another thing that you can keep an eye out for. And then lastly, like crispy leaves, like you burned your plant.
Yeah.
Like it's
Is there any
spending
coming
too
back
much
from
sun.
that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, crispy leaves, if you lose all the leaves, your plant's going to have a really hard time making energy to survive. So that's going to be really tough to come back from if you don't have any buds. But if you've just burned a few leaves, it will come back, I hope.
Yeah, now that you mentioned that, the ferns that I recently disposed of, I had 2 ferns that I'd been, keeping alive for the last probably 8 months or so. And I think they were just straight up burned because they were about as crispy as they can get. And when I brought it to the garbage to throw it away, there was just dead leaves just everywhere around it. It was quite embarrassing. Here's a good question from the listeners. This was my favorite question asked. Which indoor plants are subtle flexes?
A plant that's alive.
Okay. That's not a fair answer.
That is a fair answer. You don't know how many people's houses you walk into and they're like, I'm so, like, my plants are dying. Like, oh, like, just keep it alive.
Is it hard for you to walk into someone's place and see their plants like not thriving?
No. But like,
you don't want to like get yourself a glass of water and sneak over and like dump it in there or something?
I mean, I'll offer to help, but like sometimes, people have to figure out their problems for themselves.
Yeah,
you know?
but what if they're in real dire straits? I feel like
okay,
it's
then
your job.
I would feel
like,
empathetic towards the plant. Yes, that's true.
It's your civic duty as a plant. Your job is to keep plants alive.
That's true, but I want to help people keep their plants alive.
Sometimes people need like the underground help.
Right.
You just have to help them out behind their back. Another person asked if Monsteras are out.
Monsteras are not out. And like people say this about fiddle-leaf figs too. Like, oh, our fiddle's out. Okay, no plant is out. It's just what you like.
Were they? I guess I'm not privy to what's in the plant world. Like, were Monsteras really having a moment recently?
I would say, yeah. I mean, there's some major growers that kind of supply to all the nurseries, and they kind of follow like the plant trends.
Yeah.
So like you'll see, all the big box stores and all the nurseries inundated with a few types of plants like every spring, and it's like they've done this, social listening or something, I guess, to say like these are the plants that everyone's going to want. So then yeah, they'll pop up in a bunch of people's homes. But I think keeping a Monstera alive and like getting it to thrive is extremely rewarding. It's one of my favorite plants as well. And it's not super easy.
So you're saying big plant really just like calls the shots of what's going to be popular in that season?
Yeah, there is big plant.
When do you know that it's time to give up on a plant? When do you know that like you're not going to save it, that you might as well just start over and you can stop going to bed at night thinking like, what am I going to do tomorrow with this plant?
So, experts kill plants. Like you can't beat yourself up too much. But I think when there are no leaves, the stem is likely hollow, the roots are completely dried out. I mean, those are all signs that you've really hit the end of this plant's life. Like your ferns.
Like my ferns. Yeah. I mean, so yeah, when I worked at my old job, it was my job to keep the fiddle-leaf figs alive. And we had 3 think I killed all of them at one point, and like they were replaced with another one before they finally decided, okay, maybe Will's not the person to keep these things alive. And ever since then, I have had 3 houseplants at my house since then, and I've kept one alive successfully. It's I wouldn't say it's
They're on
thriving,
the up and up.
but he's chilling, he's surviving, he's hanging out. Like it's a fine relationship we have right now. But I haven't done anything to this plant since I got it besides water it, put it outside when it looks like it might need some sunlight. I'll do those kind of things. When do I need to repot it?
So you'll want to repot your plant when it's starting to drop a lot of leaves. Can mean that it's root bound.
Okay.
So if it's dropping a lot of leaves, it basically means that like there's too many roots, there's not enough soil, it's not able to take up enough nutrients to support like a really robust growth. So that's when you'd want to consider repotting. And that can look like every year for a fast growing plant, every 2 to 3 years for a slower growing plant. But you're going to want to go 2 inches bigger than whatever pot you previously had. If you put a small plant into a giant pot, it's actually not going to thrive. So you just want to up the pot size by 2 inches every time. But generally, it's just look for signs that the plant could potentially be root bound, like perhaps like roots are growing through the drainage hole, or it's just not able to maintain older leaves. That just means it's not getting enough energy.
If you repot a plant, or so let's say you're just lazy, you haven't repotted it, is that going to be super destructive to the plant, or is that just more not going to allow it to like actually reach its potential?
Yeah, I think it really depends on the plant. I just repotted a pothos the other day that I've had for like 6 years, and I'm embarrassed to say it was like the first time I repotted it. And I
can't believe you're admitting this.
I know. But you know what? People are like, we're all people, you know? We can't all be experts. So,
like you.
Yeah, exactly. But some plants look better than others in my house. But yeah, repotting I think is like very necessary, especially if the plant is not thriving. I mean, there's just no getting away around that. If you wanted to keep a plant smaller, you could split the plant, but that's getting,
I was reading up about splitting plants and when to do it, and it didn't help me at all.
Yeah, my mom's really good at splitting plants.
I'm sure my dad's phenomenal at it, and I just don't know it. He's probably just disgusted that I even had to like volume shoot these questions at you. Is there any truth to, I heard this one time, and I don't think this was anywhere reputable. I think somebody just told me this. Is there any truth that when you water your houseplants that you're supposed to do it around the perimeter of the pot? Or is that just like a wives' tale that I heard?
I think there's a lot of like watering techniques that people really like. You can bottom water, you can drench the plant, you can water around the edges, I suppose. I haven't heard that one, so I've never abided by it.
The reason that they said that was because the roots would spread out at the bottom, and so you want the water to go down there as opposed to just like pouring it on the base of the plant, and then it's just all sitting like right there. I don't know.
Yeah.
You're the expert, not me.
I mean, as the expert, I don't know.
Our final listener question has to do with buying plants online versus buying plants at a greenhouse. Do you have any preference on how you do it? I've had positive experiences doing both. But what do you do when you're going out and you need to get some new plants?
Yeah, so I will do both. I love to gift via some of the online marketplaces. I think they do a really great job packaging and delivering plants in a timely fashion. They get there and they really do look great. But then I also like to support my local greenhouses. And I think it's a great opportunity to go in and like meet the gardeners and meet the people that work there, because they're going to offer you so many tips and tricks.
Yeah.
And it's a great way to like build that relationship, and they're going to be a great resource.
Maybe start online for your starter plants to like really get your grounds and like do it on your own time. And then once you feel more comfortable and you can kind of chop it up with the people at the greenhouse, you just go do that. I think that works.
I think that works.
That's my plan. I'm too ashamed to go in there at this point. Okay, I've got some Sunday questions for you, but before we do, let's hear from our friends over at Oral Essentials. My entire life, I've had some anxiety around my teeth, around going to the dentist, just around everything. I always second guess things that I do when it comes to my oral care. But here's something I didn't know. 98% of oral bacteria are actually good for you. They're actually essential to your oral health, and it turns out the fact that all bacteria are bad is just a myth, and Lumino is here busting it wide open. I got a whole bunch of packages from Lumino that had everything from toothpaste, mouthwash, everything. And I've been using it ever since. Lumino makes toothpaste, mouthwash, and whitening that are totally new and different approaches for improving your oral health. They use purposeful and uncompromising ingredients like sea salt, aloe, and coconut oils to clean and brighten your smile. Plus, everything they make is certified non-toxic. You won't find harsh chemicals or bleaches in any of their products. And everything is dentist formulated, backed by over 50 studies, and proven to protect the good bacteria, also known as the microbiome. You'll love Lumino's whitening. It only takes 30 minutes to apply, and it brightens your smile with no sensitivity. Find Lumino on Amazon.com and get $7 off today. That's Lumineux. And remember, it's spelled with an X, so you can X out the harm. Lumino, dedicated to illuminating better ideas in oral care. All right, you ready for these questions?
I'm ready.
What's your ideal Sunday outfit? I didn't prep you for these.
Yeah.
You wake up on a Sunday, you're feeling lazy. What's the first thing you go and toss on?
Probably a pair of Lululemon leggings and an old t-shirt.
I mean, that's pretty much what I do, but instead of leggings, it's just like joggers.
Joggers?
Yeah, it's nothing special there.
Okay, yeah, I wish I had a cool answer, but no.
I mean, that's still a cool answer. You're not just saying like, I mean, that's a normal answer. What is your go-to guilty pleasure television show?
Okay, it has to be The West Wing.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that a guilty pleasure? I feel like that's almost like high-end television. Like, I feel like people that watch West Wing are like, no, I watch West Wing.
I don't feel like that. Like I'm rewatching for like the, I don't know, 5th time. The dynamic. It's so good.
I've never seen it, and I've had so many people recommend it to me that I think I might need to just take the dive.
You absolutely should take the dive. It's so good. I mean, I also like the Great British Baking Show. Maybe that's a little more guilty pleasure.
No, that's a very Sunday television show.
Yeah,
I've done something very weird with the most recent season. I've watched every episode except for the finale.
Oh.
I've done this before with television shows, but I don't know why I've done it with the Great British Baking Show. I think it's because a spoiler was given to me about it, and it made me so angry that I was just like, I don't even want to see this pan out in real life. I think if you've seen the most recent season, I think you know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
It sounds like someone got wronged, and maybe they should have gone by the body of work instead of a certain bake, but I don't know. That's just me. Do you have a go-to hangover cure?
I think my go-to hangover cure is probably a Bloody Mary.
Okay.
Yeah.
Your Bloody Mary over mimosas?
For sure, with extra horseradish.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I go extra spice pretty much every time. I try to, but I go very much in and out with Bloody Marys and stuff. I kind of just see what I'm craving that day and go about it that way. Do you have any like foods that you go default to, like for dinner
Thai
on Sunday
food,
nights?
Always.
Where's your Thai place that you go to in Austin?
Thai Fresh. 100%.
I knew you were going to say Thai Fresh.
Yeah.
It's a good answer.
I mean, what's your Thai answer?
Thai Fresh.
Okay.
Yeah, like that's about it. I mean, I don't eat as much Thai food anymore. I've kind of moved into my Sunday night, lazy dinner being Indian food.
Okay. And where do you get Indian?
Clay Pit.
Nice.
They have a vegetarian. I went through a phase where I did a week of being a vegetarian. I do this like once every like 3 months, I'd say. Where
a week of being a vegetarian.
Yeah. It's a big week for me. And when I was doing that, I decided to go to Clay Pit, and they had this like potato dish, and I've gotten obsessed with it, and now I just eat it all the time. It's so good. It's like little potato meatballs or potato balls. There's nothing funny about that.
Yes, there is.
What?
I don't know. It's the explanation that's getting me.
Just a week of vegetarianism? Sometimes I wake up on Sunday and I'm like, I've had so much meat lately. I just need to go. I'm going full veg the next week of my life.
I love that for you, Will.
Thank you. It's a good journey. What self-care have you practiced lately?
I think my go-to self-care has been a combination of one of two things. It's either a trip out to the ranch where it's like actually self-care, or I live in walking distance to this place that I like to call the Pearl. And so it's either Leicester Pearl East or I'm jetting out 2 hours to my uncle's ranch. It's really only one or the other.
I think those both qualify. I think, as we talked about before, I think one is probably more closely linked to what people would say is acceptable self-care versus maybe destructive, but I like the destructive stuff more.
Yeah, if you know me, then you know.
What's on your bedside table? Do you have any houseplants on there?
I do. Yeah, I have a cool little olive tree. which is actually a really cool plant. I highly recommend. My roommate in New York had one, and I was always jealous of it, so I got myself one.
Can I ask a dumb question?
Yeah.
Does it actually grow olives?
No, it doesn't
Okay,
grow
I was gonna
olives.
say, like, obviously money trees don't grow money, but like olives seem more in the scope of something that would
Yeah,
be
that
grown off of that.
that would be pretty cool, but no, mine has never fruited.
If it grew like 2 olives and then you could use it for like a very special martini in the future, like, no, I just want these 2. I kind of want that actually.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lemon tree for my, I like it with a twist. So
Oh, I mean, that's probably a very good call.
yeah,
Yeah, that's
I recommend fruit trees at home. Like they're a cool plant.
what kind of fruit trees at home?
Meyer lemon is
Okay.
great.
How long does it take to go like to have like you see the lemon starting as like
A
its
long
little green
time.
bud? Like I feel like I would be far too anxious to like get that thing off and like cut it up. I would just want to do it the entire time.
Yeah, you gotta give it some time. And they also need to be they don't necessarily need to be pollinated, but they will do well if they're pollinated. So
Okay.
they need to go inside and outside. But they're very rewarding. Like when you get that Meyer lemon, it's the best lemon you've ever had.
I'm not gonna try. I'm gonna kill it.
Okay, well, I'll bring you a lemon when I get a lemon.
Do you have any scented candles on your bedside table? Anything like that?
Yeah, I do. I'm a big Le Lavo girl when
That
it
makes
comes to
sense. Do you have a
candles.
scent that you like specifically?
I like the Noir.
Okay.
Yep.
I've been using their body wash lately, and
Okay.
I'm very happy with it. I recently asked, like, is it worth still getting this? And I got confirmation from my wife Sally that yes, we should definitely keep buying it. Our final question: what does your ideal Sunday consist of?
I would say my ideal Sunday probably consists of heading out to the ranch, working in the garden out there. I think it's like really beautiful. Probably ending the night like with cooking on the grill, having a Bloody Mary. It's like a pretty chill day.
I mean, that sounds pretty nice.
Yeah,
Just going straight like Tim Riggins on it.
yeah. I mean, it's part of the reason why I left New York.
Well, Kate, thank you so much for joining us. I think you answered so many questions that so many people have asked me, and I've never had an answer to them. Before we get out of here, though, I want you to plug everything about Flourish so that there's no questions asked when it comes to where they can find the product and where they can buy the product.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having me, Will. But flourishplant.com, Flourish Plant on Instagram, Flourish Plant on TikTok. You can find us.
How's TikTok going?
Let's not talk about that. So you can find us there. You can purchase online, and we recommend taking a look at the plant care guides, which Will has taken a look at.
Yeah, I've been on it all day.
The journal has some really cool lifestyle content, and we're really excited to start with this product and bring you guys some more plant care products, hopefully in the near future.
Well, Kate, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
We'll see everybody else on Tuesday for retail therapy. Or if you're just a Sunday Scaries person, we'll see you next Sunday.